I simplify HTML, JavaScript, and CSS so that you can build with confidence. Hello, my name is Dumiso. I've been a full-stack developer for over 10 years, and in this video, I will show you everything you need to know about CSS and HTML. Let's get started. If you do not have a code editor, just go ahead and search Visual Studio Code and go to this website, grab yourself a download, install it. Once you have it installed, you can go ahead and open new window. Then let's open this. What you want to do, you want to open a new folder, and then you need to select the folder where you want your project to be. So in my case, I want my project to be in C drive, do TikTok. Let me just say web tutorial. Okay, so now I created this folder and I went inside of it. Now I'm selecting that folder. Once I'm there, I need to be sure I'm on the folder mode or explorer, and then I can click here to create the first file. We build websites using HTML, so we're going to create our first file. In the website, the first thing you need is the home page, right? So we can just say home.html. Okay, but usually we don't name the home page home, we name it index. It is a standard because the browsers understand that this is your landing page, so you don't have to give it a name on the URL. You will see that soon. Now, HTML on its own, it just looks like a Word document, so you always need CSS. To get started in your HTML page, press exclamation mark and hit enter. And then you can change the title. Let's say this is my first website. Okay, to preview this, you need to go to extensions and install the extension called Live Preview. It's very popular, this one, Live Server. Then you hit install. Once it's installed, you can just go ahead and right click and say open with Live Server. So this will open your website in the browser. You can see the title there is saying my first website. Okay, so how do we get the content on this page? You go inside the body. This is where you put your content. But before that, I want to tell you about how we open and close. We use this type of brackets, the greater sign and the less sign. We use them, and when we're closing a tag, we use a slash. Okay, so this is where the body opens and is closing here. You can see when I'm selecting, it gets highlighted. Head section, this is where it's opening and this is where it's closing. So you can think of this as a box. This box starts here and finish here. This box starts here and finish here. What if you want the text element? So let's just say I will go to ChatGPT, right? On ChatGPT, I created the content about my profile. So I don't want to be typing everything from scratch, so I'll be using this. For example, let's say I want to write this inside of my homepage. So we use the headings. We have the heading that starts from 1 to 6. So to open a heading, let's just quickly disable autocomplete. If you open a tag, you can just say H1 and then you can close like this. You can see again same formats. This box starts here and close here. This is the text box. So inside I can put my text like this and then save. The changes will refresh automatically. You see, it looks like Microsoft Word. I told you. So this one you can go up to H6. So if I want the H2, you can put like this, say test 2. If I up to H6, let's say test 6. Okay. Now you see the format, everything is opening and is closing. If you don't do this, this is an error. You shouldn't be doing that. You will have a problem in your document. So you can see this is the H1, H2, and this is the H6, which is the smallest heading. Let's say you want to display some information, but it's not very important, so you can use the H6. This one is saying this is the very important heading because all this page is about this page that is telling us about this guy who transformed ideas into powerful digital solutions. Let's go to our content. The next thing, we want to put the subheading. So here is a subline. For the subline, we use a paragraph. Let's remove these two. Okay, we use a paragraph. So in Visual Studio Code, I can just press P and hit enter. It's going to open the tag and close it for me automatically. So I can put my text, press Ctrl Alt F to format it. Okay, can also do this to format it manually since my formatter is not working. And you can see that it doesn't matter even if I put a space. You see, even if I do this, let's say after the comma I put a space like this and space like this, HTML would just ignore those spaces because they don't matter. If I were to reformat this document, you'll see it will format it differently, but your text is still using the available space. If you want to put the spaces, let's say here, you use a break tag. So you can just say BR and press enter. You see this one is not closing anywhere, right? Or it's just self-closing. This is a better way of writing it. So some other texts, they don't need to open and close. So you don't have something like this, like BR and then /BR. We don't have this. And why? It's because you don't have any content that you can put inside of this. All the content of this component is just within it here. So you will see some of this text like this soon. We're gonna do the images now, and you will see that the images is also self-closing because you don't have to put any content in between. So what this BR does, if we save, you can see that it's gonna create a break. It's gonna break the line. So if I take this BR and put it here, I transform ideas into, let's say I transform ideas. I'm not saving. You see now it's one line. If I save, you can see now this thing is in 2 lines. Okay. Another tag that is also close to a break is called HR. HR is a horizontal line. So let's say after this H1, I go HR. This is also a self-closing tag, right? You will see that now I have a line. So BR is a space, HR is a line. What happens if I put multiple BRs, let's say just after the line? 1, 2, 3. 3 blank spaces will be created, as you can see, right? What if I put another HR here? There will be 3 blank spaces, then there will be the HR. Okay, cool. So let's remove all these HRs because we don't need them, and we don't need this break here, and we don't need this break here as well. You can just use the whole space. We're going to use CSS to control the layouts of this website. Okay, so this is the hero section of our website. This is the landing page. Let's see what else we have. We have 2 call to action. Let's work together and view my portfolio. So these 2, we want them to take us to another page. Okay, so let's say for that you can just use the A tag. You see by default Visual Studio Code will put the href here. We call this the attribute because it tells us more information about this href, about this tag. So this tag is an A tag with a label. Maybe let's say let's work together. Okay, and then let's format this. We need to make sure that our text is inside the tag, right? Okay, so now if I go there, I can see that now this is a link because I'm using the A tag. If I click it, it's not taking me anywhere because I didn't tell it. What if I say take me to? So if someone clicks to the page that say let's work together, I want them to go to contact.html. This is the page where they can use to contact me. My contact details will be there, and the form will be there. So let's just say contact. So to build this page, we can just press exclamation mark and hit enter. Let's put the heading right now, H1, and say contact us. So now what we are saying is that when the user click here, they will be going to this page, contact. See, now in our project we have 2 pages. Let's see if that works. They click here, now they are in contact us. Beautiful. And they are going to contact.html. Let's go back to index. Remember, I told you that because we're naming this thing index, the browser understands that this is the landing page. We don't have to put the name of the file. We can just hit enter. As you can see, we are still landing to the index page. Okay, contact, and going back, we are still fine. Perfect. So now we know how the links work. Let's go back to this page. And then we have 2 links. So I can just duplicate this. Another link says view my portfolio. So we can just say this one is taking us to the portfolio.html. Then copy this and create that page. Okay, let's create portfolio.html, hit exclamation mark, and then put a heading that say portfolio. Okay, now let's refresh. We can go to the portfolio, or we can go to contact us. Perfect. So now we know how the links works. Let's see what is next in our contact. We have another thing that say why work with me. So this is another section. We'll come back to this one. Now let's talk about CSS. I think this is a good time. You already know, but before we go there, let's say I want to put the image of myself. I already have that image in my computer, so I will just go find it. Over here. I'll copy this photo of myself, and then in this one, which is my logo, and then I'll open my project. I'll create a new folder. I'll say these are my images, and then I will paste and say paste. So now I have the logo over here, and I have my beautiful picture over here. Okay, cool. So let's go back to index. We can close the files that you are not working on at the moment, right? And we can close this. So let's say we want to display my image somewhere here. So what I can do is I can just say image. Here, you see this is the self closing tag. If I format this, you can see now it's closing itself. I don't need this. I don't need something like this, right? I don't need something like this. I can just close it just like that. So now, what are these attributes? If I don't populate these attributes, you will see what will happen, right? Let's refresh. You're not going to see anything because that image is blank. But what if I put something here else? Let's say I put my name, I say Ndumiso, profile, image, and save. You see now, what will happen is if the photo is not available, this text will be displayed there. It's gonna tell the browser that, hey, this guy is trying to display a picture of Ndumiso profile image, but let's just put the name over there. People who are using screen readers, they can just get an idea. Basically, to them, because they don't see, this will just work fine. But now I want my image here. I have a folder called images here, so I can just say images slash, you see, autocomplete. Visual Studio can tell that I have 2 images and I want this one that's saying do. Now let's save and see what we have. There we go. So now we have our image. Now we want this portfolio to look nice. Okay, so let's style this portfolio. I will go there on Pinterest quickly and find the portfolio inspiration. Okay, portfolio UI design. Okay, we want a very simple layout just like this one. Okay, just like this one. We want the image on the right, and then here we want our text and we want our 2 buttons. You see, everything is already perfect because we have 2 buttons. We also want to have the menu on top. I will start with this section first, then we can go ahead and create the menu. So to do that, you need some styles, because now you need to tell the browser that, hey, I want some text to be blue, I want my button to be blue, I want this one to have a border, I want these images to be on the right. To do that, you need CSS. Okay, so before we get there, what I want you to think about right now is, how do we structure the page though before we actually get to CSS? Let's take a screenshot of this. I'm giving you everything raw today because I want you to understand how these things come and how developers think. So let's grab a pen. Let's make it small. Yeah, that should be fine, and make it, okay, let's just pick the purple one. So this is the section we want to build right now. So you see, this is a box that contains all these elements. So we can call this box hero section. Then here we have 2 boxes. This is box number 1. You can put a box there if you want, but we don't have to actually. So this is just the image that is standing on its own. So this is element number 2, which is just the image. Okay, so we need to build a layout like this. So we need this parent element that will allow us to have one element on the left and have another element on the right. So this is how we structure our HTML. If you look at this one, you can also see that we have another box here that is actually allowing these two to be next to each other. So this box, here, the big one, and this one, you see they behave the same way because this box is divided into 2 and this box is also divided into 2. So this is the layout. So now let's jump to CSS. All this will make sense just now. When you go to CSS, we need to start by structuring our boxes. How do you define a box? That is when you use a div. Remember, I told you that we have the Flexbox, which is our hero section, right? So let's go ahead and create a div here on top. Div. And then let's give it a class. So remember, I told you whatever that goes inside here, on top of the element opening is the attribute. So the class is the attribute, and we can give it a class like hero section. Why are we using a class? We're using a class to be able to select this element. Why do you want to select this element? When you're styling it, you want to select it. You want to tell the styles, I want these styles for the specific element, and you use this class to select it. Okay, so now inside of the hero section, what do we have? We have another box that contains the text and the buttons. So let's go ahead and add that box. So I will add another div. You see now this div is inside this one. So this is a box. So this one, we can give it a class and say this is a class of content. Okay, so what is inside the content is the heading and the paragraph and the buttons. Let's go ahead and do that. Heading, paragraph, and the buttons. Cut. We put them inside the content. Okay, you see now, if you highlight here, you can close this. So technically, you just have one element inside of the hero section at the moment, but our design have 2. It's this content section and the image. So what we need to do next is to cut the image and put it here. So now our hero section have two elements. It have this div with the content inside, and it have the image. Remember, our buttons as well have their own container because they have the layout that is left and right. So to do that, you need to put them in the container as well. So let's go ahead and put another div here. I would give it a class of buttons, and then I can cut this and put it here and save. You see now how this looks like. We have the content of the heading, paragraph, and then it's have another div of buttons. So technically this content have three elements, 1, 2, 3. And then this hero section have two elements, 1, 2. Clean. So now we can style these things. Let's introduce some styles. To style a page on the website, you need this file. You can do the styles here by using a style tag, but let's not do that because it's not the ideal way of doing it. I'm going to create the external file, call it style.css, and hit enter. And then you need to go to your page. In the head, you need to link your styles. So you're going to say link, and then scroll down in VS Code and click this one. If you're not using Visual Studio Code, you're going to have to type these things, all of them manually. But this is wise to use Visual Studio Code because it has all these smart autocompletes that makes your life easier and eliminates the mistakes. So now that's our styles are linked. If you press Control and click here, you will see that this should take you to the style. This doesn't, but let's just make sure that we copy the name and make sure the name is correct. Okay, it is correct. To test if everything is working, we are going to start by introducing the color. You see the color of this website. This is not white. This is like grayish. It's off-white. So let's just say it's light gray for now. So let's just target the whole body and say background. Let's just say gray, just to see if it's working, right? Okay. Seems like our styles are not working. So this is CSS, right? And this is CSS. Okay, let's click create file. Okay, there's a little bit of the confusion that is going on here. Okay, and then let's put this here. And now it is working. What's wrong with this file, guys? I don't understand. This is css.css. I don't know what's going on, but clearly they are not the same. Probably it's a spelling. Okay, let's just remove this one and just roll with this one. Okay, everything is fine. Everything is fine. Okay, everything is fine. So you can put your mouse on top of the color and choose any color you want. For example, if you want red, you can get red. But let's put our mouse here and go to white, and then just go off a little bit, maybe here. Now we have nice light gray that looks like white a little bit. Okay, now you might find out that you don't like the fonts that is used here and you want to use your own font. We can start there. You see this font here is kind of clean, so I'll go ahead and just use Arial. Okay, so we can say the whole body wanted to use the font family of Arial. Autocomplete will put some alternative, but I like to remove them and just leave one to keep things simple. So now I think we can work with this font. It's kind of fine. then now we can start focusing on other things. So we just style the body, and we are using a selector here. So since we are targeting a body, we just use the keyword body and put it here. What if we want to target the image tag? Let's just say image tag, let's just say width, maybe 50 pixels, right? You see now the image is small. What if we want to target the H1 tag? Remember, we have the H1 here, right? Let's just say maybe font size, because it's a text, right? Let's just say maybe it's 120 pixels. What will happen? Now the text is huge. So you see now, guys, we have the full control of deciding how we want this page to look like. So we can make it look like exactly this one. So to do that, let me show you one more thing though. What if we say all the divs, we want them to have a border, right? We want them to have a border of 1 pixel. Solid, let's say black. Let's see what will happen. All the divs. How many divs do we have? 1, which is the hero section. 2, which is the content. 3, which is the buttons. Let's see what we have. 1, it's have the border. Hero section. Buttons have the border. And the content have the border. Okay? So now we can see that this actually works perfectly. Usually, you will see all the developers when they start writing CSS, they start with this star. This star means everything. Let's say you wanted everything to have a background of red, right? You see now that everything will have a background of red because you set star. But usually what we want to do here, we want to remove all the margins, which is the spacing around the element, and all the paddings, which is the spacing in the element. We want those to be 0. There is this thing that we call box sizing. We want this to be border box. This is just to make sure that your styles are not overridden and you end up having the UI that you don't want. So this is just a reset. You're resetting everything before you start, okay? So now you can see now this looks better. We have better spacing. All the spaces are gone. But obviously, we don't want to do all these styles, right? So what do you want to style? Let's start by a hero section, okay? Hero section, you see now, we don't want to use the div and change all the divs in the website because that would break our UI. This is why we need to use the specific classes because they are unique. So we can just say this class, let's just say background red, and check it out. Nothing. Why? Because if you have a here, it's telling you that it's trying to change the styles for a selector like this. But if you put a dot, it's going to tell you that no, now I'm trying to change the style for any element with the class of hero section. So that is why now this will definitely work. So beautiful. So now let's talk about the layout. The divs, we mostly use them for laying out content. So to lay out content properly, you need to make a decision. According to this hero section here, what do I want? Okay, I want the items to go from left to right. Then you go to your styles, you say, then I want this to display flex. That will make your elements, your children in the element inside of a box go from left to right. Let's see that in action. You see now, we're starting with this container here and going to this container. That's the advantage of putting. Okay, let's say now you go to the content and say you want the class content to have a background of yellow, right? Let me just once more disable completions because we want to write our code by ourselves, all of it. So you see now on the left we have the content, and then it's filling the whole thing, and then on the right we have the image. Okay, cool. So with the Flexbox, like I said, if you learn Flexbox, you will pretty much master everything you need to know about the layouts. Other layouts would be easy. Other layouts are like grids, like display inline. But for now, let's focus on Flexbox. Let's see what happens if we say align item center. You see now everything is aligned to the center, and this property comes with, by default, it's flex start. As you can see, everything is on the start. Let's just put this on the side by side for now, so as you can see properly. And then you have flex end. I think you just need to know these three: flex start and flex end. You see the end goes all the way down there. Another thing you need to know about this, right, is that flex comes with a flex direction. So let's just say here we say flex direction row. By default, it is a row. As you can see, everything is coming from here going all the way there. But what if, let's put this back to center. What if I say column? You see now things are starting from top going down. And again, you can say align items flex end. You see, now everything is going from top to bottom, but everything is at the end. But we want to leave it as a row, so we're going to leave the default, and we definitely want to align things at the center. Okay, cool. I'm using a very big screen. You can see already that the text is starting at the beginning to the end of the screen, right? So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your content is at the center of your screen. So how do you do that? If you go back to your HTML, you will see that you have this hero section, right? That is actually red. So we can give it a maximum width of, let's say, 1200 pixels. That's usually a standard. You see now it's only taking this portion and everything is looking nice and professional, but it needs to be centered. So to make it centered in the center of the screen, you can make the body flex and align things at the center. That's up to you. But the easiest way, we just say margin 0. That is the vertical margin, and say auto on the left and right. See now it's going to apply the automatic margins on the left and on the right of the screen. Okay. Now let's target our image, because our image is too big. So here we will say plus hero image. By the way, you can also use the ID, right? You can use the ID. Let's see the ID example. So if you're using the ID, you start with the hashtag, right? Hashtag for the ID. And then if you hover over this, it will tell you that it's targeting any element with the ID of hero image, you see? So it's still correct. So we can set the width to be like 80%. So this doesn't take the whole screen, right? Let's see if this works. Let's set it to 20. Yeah, you see, it's smaller now. So let's make it 50%. And then this portion would be 50%. If you want the gap between the two items, again, you go to the parent. The Flexbox gives you the gap option. You can make it like 24 pixels. Now you can see that there's a space between this, right? Then we can give it the padding as well, this section. Let's just give it a padding of like 20 pixels, just so that we have the space around the red area. Okay, now let's remove the background and see how it's looking so far. The content, remove the background, and save. Bam. You see now you have your UI looking good. It's not exactly this, but it is quite close. There are a few things you can do here to make it better, right? So we have transform ideas to powerful digital solutions. You see here we have the small text and the big text and the blue text. I want us to do all these effects. So I will show you how to style a text within a heading. I think that would be a very interesting solution to do with you guys. So to do that, now this is where this is getting more fun and creative. I can take this, right? I transform, I would put it in a span element. I would explain this just now. And then into digital solutions, I will also put this into a span element. If you look at your code, you don't see any difference because the span element, if you inspect this, right? Let's inspect this. You will see that the span element, it is there. You see, it is an element, and then it's the whole text, and then this is another element. And we have the H1 here. So now we can style the spans, right? So let's say this one, we give it a class of small, and this one, we give it a class of highlights, right? So let's copy these two classes and create the content for them. For now, we don't have any styles for content, so I'll remove it. I want the content, I want to style highlights, and I want to style the small, right? For the small, I want it to be on its own line. So I'll say display block. You see now, I transform is on its own line, and then let's make the font size smaller. Okay, first of all, we can make the whole heading, right? Let's give it the font size of like 40 pixel and font weight of like 900 to make it big and bold. Okay, perfect. Now, I think 40 is actually small for our text. Oh, it's okay. Probably it's okay. And I think I want to swap the emoji to go to the end of the line so that everything would be aligned properly. I think I like it this way. And then the small one, right? The small one, I want to make sure that, let's pump it up. Let's go with 50 for our design. Yeah. And then small, we're going to change the font size to make it 30. And then we're going to change the font weight to make it 500. So the font weight starts from 100 to 900. It's like 100, 200, 300. It's all the multiples of hundreds, okay? So the more you change these values, you'll see that this is getting thinner, this is thicker, okay? Now, the highlights one, I just want to change the color. Let's change the color to blue, okay? Right there, right there. It's not this soft blue that they are using here, but you can hover this and kind of make it a little bit soft. Like I'll just go up there and go down there just to get the better color, okay? Now it's a nicer RGBA. You see already, we kind of have this design already. So now we have the text here. We're not going to change anything about the text, or we can just say paragraph, color, gray. Again, I would press Ctrl, Alt Shift F to format my document. Yeah, this is much better. And then now let's do the buttons, okay? So here for the buttons, we have the buttons class. I want to show you now a better way to do this as well. So we can just go class buttons, and then we want the link inside of a class buttons, because we want to change both the links, but not every link in the page. So this will change only the links that is within the buttons. You see, it's going to target the class with buttons, and then it's going to change the links inside. So now we can style these buttons to look pro. Okay, so now that we have the class that targets the links, the first thing we want to do with this, right? We want to make them a square with a fill. So I can see that this one have a fill, this one have a border. So let's go ahead and do that. For now, let's just put this here so that we can see our buttons again properly. Perfect. So let's start by spacing actually. Let's just say on top and bottom, I want them to be 8 pixels, right? That's how you usually do a padding, because it's not the same, especially for the padding. You want it to be small on top and bottom, maybe like actually 4. And then on the left and right, you usually want a double of that pixels. Okay, you see now they are far apart. And then we have this container here, buttons, right? Let's give it a margin top of 12 pixels, just for the spacing. There we go. And then now if we give this one a border again of 1 pixel, solid gray, you can see that we have that. And then we can just change the color of them to be black. Okay, and text decoration to remove the underlines to none. Again, text decoration has a few options. You have none, you have dashed, you have overline, that is commonly used, and then we have stroke, I think, strike. Line through, sorry, it's line through, if you want everything to be like cancelled like that, right? So, but we want none, we don't want any lines. Okay, I think my padding is small. Let's make it 8 pixel here and make it 12 pixel this side. Okay, 12 pixel this side. Okay, much better. And my margin is definitely small. I will make it 20. Okay, can work with that. Let's see the design. It's big. Make it 40. Okay, I think maybe that. So the other one, this gray is very light. Let's just push it up, and it looks like it's like 2 pixels, something like that. Okay, maybe 1 is fine. 1 is fine. Okay. And then the other one, which is this one, the main button is blue, which is this color here, this one. So there are 2 ways you can do this, right? If you want this to be unique, you can just, the easiest way is to go ahead and keep it a class. So I'll give this one class primary, because it is a primary button, right? The other one is secondary. So now we can just say anything that is a primary button wanted to have a background of this blue here, and then we want it to have a color of white. Okay, it's not changing. Okay, there we go. There we go. And then the reason why it's not working is because if you specify this div, these styles, they become prioritized because now they are more specific, right? So this is more general to any primary button. So let's just prefix it to keep it safe. And then the border, I'm not sure about the border. We can just change the border color to be red. See? But let's make it the same as the background. Okay? We're basically kind of removing it in a way. So now we have our buttons, and they are all working right as expected. Yes, they are all working as expected. Let's just refresh to make sure that our styles are still applied. So now if you look at this, you can see that it's definitely coming together. And now what is left, what we haven't done here? You might ask yourself why we didn't use the flex on the buttons. We have the block elements and the inline elements. The buttons by default, they are inline. If you want to make them block, you can just say display block. Then now each button will take the whole space, but by default the links, they are inline. So you don't have to make them flex because that's the behavior they have anyway. Okay. So yeah, guys, we're pretty much done with this, and I think we can leave it here for now. This was the log to take in. If you want me to continue with this, let me know in the comments. It's either we go on and create the navigation next, or we go on and create the menu items next. So yeah, you let me know. For now, thank you for watching, and I think you learned a lot about basic styling to create this landing page. Cheers, see you on the next one. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video and drop the comments. Any questions, I'll be answering them on the comments.